Slurpity diddly do, my G's. Hope you guys are doing great. Rejoice, for your daily evening artifact newspaper is here. In today's edition, we'll be breaking down a granular effects sounding, bass effects sound that I've made in Serum 2. And I'm just going to, it won't take long today, but I'm just going to brush over a few cool concepts in the Serum 2 regarding sound design and how you can get these nice gritty textures with a lot of movement and speed changes and a nice granular texture as well. So let's quickly play the sound with some drums here. It's not super tracked to the drums. The timing could be a little bit better, to be honest. But here we are. But let's listen to the sound in isolation and just talk about the actual sound design here. So what you've got is this nice fluttering granular sound that sort of gets faster and slower again. And it's achieved in basically using one LFO. And this LFO, this is how I'm setting up my defaults now in Serum. Basically, I've got an LFO1 with the triangle and the rate is on the hertz, so it's off the grid. So I can do nice smooth transitions if I want, or balance it all by ear. I like to balance the movement by ear. And I've got the smooth turned right up, so it becomes more of a sine wave really, you know? The phase is actually a bit late as well, so it sort of starts over here, so it starts at this bottom part. I just like that kind of natural looking shape for the movement. All right, so basically the whole way the sort of movement is created is by modulating the length of the grains here. So if I mute this one, so that's where everything really comes from, you know. But then also you have to bear in mind that this is the granular part of the sound. All right, so the granular generator. But also the level is off, so I'm not actually using this this oscillator at all, you know? There's no level on it. So basically what's happening is it's just a result of how this is being frequency modulated into oscillator A here. And so I actually, if I turn them off, you're just left with a triangle. Alright, so I've got a sub bass, -2, a triangle at -2, which has been unisoned. And I put in some FM from this granular sound, which is the villain metal, as you see here. It's on the factory settings. And I also put a PD as well, a phase distortion modulation from the same oscillator. So you have a combination of two. That's what creates the great result in the end. It's actually FM plus PD, all just both are sort of around 30%, with a little bit of increasing movement on the LFO. And yeah, what you also need to note is that the density here also shifts very, very slightly, the density of the grains, but this is not what's controlling the main movement, and in fact it's really, really subtle what it does. What you need to do on the granular setting, or what I always do, is I set it to manual mode, so then I can basically just find a point by changing the position, you know, whereabouts in the sample I want the grains to come from. And so that there it's like not as rich, so but over here, you know, it's very specific what you end up choosing, but at 9%, I found a good level of richness of grains to get to source, you know, those spice like this. Did you ever watch Dune? Do you like Dune? Dune's a great book and a great film. The old one, the classic one. The new one's good as well, but of course you've watched Dune. There's a new one. I was actually thinking about the original. But yeah, I think I read the original book like years ago. And yeah, the spice is just cool, isn't it? So the spice, think of the grains are like the spice for the good sound design, you know? So we're harnessing, extracting the spice from the planet. All right, so the other thing with the granular section, which is great, I don't really use these bottom things much here yet. I haven't found a super good use for them yet. But the other thing that's great is the warp. Well, it says warp, but basically it takes you to the other page, so you can also adjust the FM settings down here, right? So a couple more things here, because I've actually got a phase distortion from A, and you might think, what's the point in that? Because the level is off, and you're not actually using that, right? But if I take that off, you see how it gives that like extra harmonic, the high end? If I didn't have that on, I wouldn't have had as rich of a sound. And so basically what you're having is this granular setting being routed into A with the FM and the PD, but also by having the PD from A, it's actually changing what that oscillator B is feeding into oscillator A to give you even more harmonics, basically. So it's kind of working simultaneously like a DNA helix, you know? It's just life and creation. It's wonderful. The other great thing that you'll notice here is the PD noise. And if I take that off, this is how I get my crunchy, gritty high end, which is clean, because it's with white noise, you know? And by putting it in here via the PD, that movement of the grains, which is tracked, you know, via the length here, the way the length changes the speed of the grains. I'll brush over that again in a moment. But having the noise in here, it makes the noise flutter and follow the exact pattern. So if I just had the noise on like that, it's cool, but it's just static noise not following the rhythm. But because the rhythm is coming from the grains, by putting the PD noise in here, I basically pepper all of those grains with white noise individually. It's wonderful. It's like MasterChef, you know? So, by the way, I love you guys. How are you guys doing? No, actually I don't. No, so I was just trying to be serious again. Contain yourself, artifact. Tame yourself. YouTube, remember? You're supposed to have no personality. Or are you? I don't know. So, as you saw, the length here controls the length of the grains, and that contributes to the changing speed and whole bass effect, you know? So just setting that up by ear, it goes up 16% on the LFO, as you see here. Starts off fast and gets a bit slower at the top. All right, wonderful. We can almost move on now to the part where you join Patreon. Oh no, sorry, I mean the rest of the video. God, there he is thinking about himself again. God forbid anyone support him. Yeah. Nah, don't feel guilty. You're all right. Just take everything for free. No, I'm just kidding. So, I'm just joking, by the way. I appreciate everyone on the channel. You don't have to support a Patreon, of course. That's a optional bonus where you can have more stuff if you want, but you don't have to. The notch filter, right? This is wonderful because it's it's driving everything and it's shaping everything at the same time, you know? Yeah, so it goes up, as you see, the range is whatever that is, 50 hertz up to 1500. Quite a large range, actually. The drive is quite high as well. But yeah, you heard with and without. You know, the notch filters are just great for bass lines, especially in Neurofunk, drum and bass, that kind of style, you know. I just put one on there, and then we can pretty much roll on to the next part, which is the effects. And there's two main effects here that really make the world of a difference, and that's the bode and the distortion. All right. So what the bode does is it's just a great way to create stereo harmonics. And so you get really interesting results when you mess around with the shift and the range and the direction, but it can go overboard quickly. You got to turn the blur up to get things really fun. So I turn the blur up and then I mix it in. Sometimes I'll have it on all the way if I want a really wide sound, but that's better for pads and drones and things like that, and maybe leads. But when you've got bass, you kind of need a bit of the low end still to be fairly central. So I just mix it in a 28% or so. Then chorus. This is a subtle one. Hyperdimension, a subtle bit of dimension as well. Just beefing out the width of the sound a bit. Now this is the important one, is the distortion, right? Because this just like saturates all the high end. And the Diodes 2 is a classic, always works quite nicely for high end. Driving it up, mixing it in around halfway, and then also modulating the split frequency. So it goes from like 200 up to 1000. So you imagine at the beginning, like a lot of the mid-range is distorted as well, like saturated. And then as you get towards the top part where the grain's kind of slow down, you have less mid-range saturation and just high-end saturation. And it's just that contrast that helps to create a more evolving sound, basically. But the whole high-end from 1K and up is always saturated, so that's great. I'll just finish off with a few things, like a little bass reduction, actually. I found it was a little bit boomy. A little bit of flanging just for the flanger squad, and then a little bit of touch of reverb at the end. And that's the deep sedation bass effect. But yeah, so you can create loads of interesting sounds by messing around with the length of the grains and just putting them on an LFO, for example. And also you can get really interesting harmonics when you run that through a sine wave or a triangle wave, maybe with unison, maybe without, using combinations of routings. So a bit of phase distortion, bit of frequency modulation, and also going the other way. And even when the level is off here, it will still have an impact on the output of the sound. So that's very interesting, in my opinion. But yes, hopefully that was inspiring for you guys today. Like I said, I really enjoy this granular sound. I would probably use it more, this specific sound, as like a little breakdown thing, or like a little fill or transitional sound, you know, because it doesn't like roll so well with my drums here, you know. But that's not the point. The point today is just to show you some cool stuff in Serum. Hope you guys like the video. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe and comment down below what your name is and where you're from. If you found the video useful, what other videos you'd like to see. If you have any mixdown or other workflow questions, write them below, and I often make videos inspired from your comments. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. As I mentioned before, if you would like to support the channel, you can do that via Patreon. We have a Discord as well, where we do regular feedback live streams and group masterclasses and loads more. Everyone in there's really friendly, helping each other out with their production. It's a great environment to be a part of. Also, if you guys ever want mixing and mastering, you can email me. That's linked down below. And I also have production lessons available. My calendar is also down below, teaching from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, European time. And if you guys also want presets, I've got Serum, Faceplant, Vital, and Current available on my website. Thank you very much for watching today. Much respect. More from me very soon. Ciao for now.